Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We have we are on finally chapter 6 of Chasing Light. Oh my god, I'm so excited. We finally got here. We're finally at chapter 6. Yay! There is 40 chapters in this series, as you know. Well, I probably told you at the beginning, but if not, there are 40 chapters. 40. And it's even a miracle that we got to chapter 6. I thought we were never going to get chapter 6. To be honest, it takes us 2 episodes each time just to get to finish with one chapter, or maybe it's I don't know. Anyways, Chasing Light chapter 6. Yeah, let's begin. Alright. There's nothing here for story reasons and from the author's notes. So let's begin. Earth 66, Star Labs, was completely abandoned. It had all the tech, it had all the space, it even had a few new rooms. What it was missing was people. Kaylin walked through the glass double doors instantly, thinking, this must be what it felt like when people swore their houses were haunted. She could have been a ghost herself. Leaves were strewn everywhere. Cobwebs stretched across the welcome center, center's main desk, the rafters on the monitor, and the corridors leading to the cortex were no better. The entire building smelled acrid, as if something had dunk a rag in a gasoline and wiped down every surface. Outside, they had noticed that unlike the other Earths, there was just one of the towers was charred and dysfunctional. Earth 66 version automated all three, only blackened stumps in their place. Savitar hadn't said much to her since they arrived. Caitlin had laid out the plan for him in her typical all-business fashion: get to Star Labs, settle in, and figure out the details of his new home. Whether he was fitting for a job, whether there was a fitting job for him close to the labs. Maybe it was only to disguise his scars. Maybe a way to disguise his scars in order to avoid questions. And most importantly, whether this world needed the Flash. Savitar didn't seem concerned with any of it. He barely made a single comment. She couldn't tell whether he agreed with her ideas or not. Instead, the moment they entered the musty cortex, he dropped his bags right on the floor, sped away, and returned a second with a bag of fried food. It was nice to see he hadn't just been antagonistic back on Earth 1, and he really meant it when he said he was hungry. When Caitlin gave him a look that told him, with a pinch of her eyebrows and pursed lips, that the slight was a surreal. Savitar said, as though she were the weird one, "I eat," and began unwrapping his burger. Caitlin watched him chewing at hyperspeed. At first thought came to her mind and popped out of her mouth without consent. Did you pay for that? Savitar sat down on one of the chairs by the desk, propping up his feet. Would you believe me if I said I did? Caitlin raised her eyebrows, showing her palms. Just asking. There was only the sound of a rustling paper as Savitar finished off his lunch in the space of 2 minutes. Caitlin walked around the cortex, switching the emergency lights on. and running her finger over her old examination table, making a face of dust it collected. "Everything seems to be in working condition," she announced after a few more minutes of turning on things and plugging things in. The particle accelerator released a wave that was toxic to human life within the machine's surrounding area. But the pipeline where it actually took place is the only part of the building that there's really damage. All of the cobwebs and rust is just due to neglect and inactivity. One of the monitors where the suit should be is cracked, and more than one light bulb needs changing. Santa crossed his arms. "So what? Should I grab a mop?" Caitlin glanced over at him, curls swaying distractedly, saying as she waited for her usual screen to boot up, "If you want, there's bound to be some kind of health violation." And then she remembered who she was talking to. Savitar was looking at her with an expression very used when she babbled on about the technical flaws and the punchlines of a joke. It was an expression that said, "Stop embarrassing yourself." "Oh, you were being sarcastic, weren't you?" Savitar stood, and instead of answering, he clapped his hands together. "Not that this isn't very exciting step in our little journey," he said, sighing. But all that food gave me the urge to go for a nice run. When you come up with something relevant for me to do with the rest of my existence, you'll let me know. I'm not going anywhere." He headed out the entryway. "Nowhere far, anyway." "Wait, you need..." He was gone, splintering the hair out of her mouth in his wake. Caitlin huffed. "Comms," she finished dejectedly, staring at the exit after him. Wind rushing past Savitar's face, the Speed Force churned and flashed behind his vision. Earth 66 became a blub around him, and he closed his eyes as he ran, sensing objects around him, avoiding collision with anything or anyone. No one could see him. Nothing could touch him. He was too fast. This air's Earth was sweeter than Earth 1's, but the smells and colors were the same. Not a full month ago, he wanted to be God. He was determined to be God. God feels no pain. He wouldn't have to suffer through the memories of everyone he loved, everyone Barry Allen loved, rejecting him. Not if there was a ruler of the time. Not if he was a god. But they had proven him wrong. Not 2024 Team Flash. No, they had still abandoned him. The present Team Flash. The one that had saved him. He looked down at the handcuff as he ran, knowing exactly where Ramon's lightning bolt signature was carved against his wrist. He wanted to be a god, to be worshipped, so that he wouldn't be alone. Because they had made him alone. Broken. Joe, Wally, Cisco, Barry Allen. But now they had flipped everything he believed on its head. He was trying to wreck them all, make them feel what he had felt for an eternity at their hands. And in spite of what he'd done, they helped him. Didn't that make him wrong? Wasn't he wrong? Because by saving him, they'd proven that they were not going to forget him the way their future selves had. They had proven he wasn't alone. Not exactly. He didn't need to become God. Barry Allen, the original, had told him, "You can have all that again. Friends." a family. He could have had it all if he was willing, and he wanted it. He wanted it. The part of him, remnant part, the part that lingered before the rejection, the part that was still trying to be Barry. It was aching and screaming for the life if he remembered. That's why he had agreed to come to Earth 66. That's why he couldn't speak when Barry had told him not to screw it up. There was nothing he could say. He couldn't make any promises, but he didn't know what he was supposed to be now. But he wanted to try something, anything. The bitterness was not gone. The satured in his tone, the way he moved. He couldn't get it out of his bloodstream. Not yet. Still recalled every detail of the day they had shunned him. Couldn't forget it. But the pain didn't have to last. And here, in another world, he didn't have to see them every day. He didn't have to see Iris with him, the original. He didn't have to see Cisco, Wally, Joe. He was free of the reminders. He was supposed to be starting over. Hanger stabbed him. Starting over here? They wanted him to do what? What next? Become the Flash? Fight a few metas? Try to be a forensic scientist again? With the face he wore? The scars inside and out? That wasn't easy. It wasn't that easy. That was probably why Snow had volunteered to join him, to help him settle. He knew her. He knew her so well. The doctor, the healer. She wanted to fix everything. She thought he could be Barry Allen. She thought he was just like Barry Allen. She thought it was closer to his surface than it was. She was wrong. He didn't know. She wanted Barry. She wanted Barry. She wanted Barry. Wanted him to be Barry. Not enough to treat him with equal familiarity. Not enough to treat him with respect she gave the original to her. He was surely just a copy, a slave she was desperately fond of. But someone had bothered to replicate. Head high, hands steady, she took upon herself, professional self, to study his ingredients, trash his flawed formula, and start him from scratch. Things he had seen, things he had been. Couldn't simply reverse that. Dr. Snow would be in for a surprise. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden wave of a high temperature claimed in the area as he was being by. A deafening explosion. Saltar flash of fire lashing out, and the entire skyscraper became engulfed in flames. Kaylin was wiping off the demonstration board when Saltar returned. When she begun, she was stunned to see there was an exact replica of the calculations the original Star Lab staff had left up. The surreal of the success before the particle accelerator exploded on Earth 1. It had Cisco's energetic, sloppy handwriting in the corner of the red Star Labs forever. Caitlin had cleared this phrase off last. Feeling the room grow ever colder, she realized that the Cisco that had written this triumph phase was dead. Wally had been right. The serve was left wanting. With tickle blasts of the air, a few scattered leaves fluttering, and Sauter interrupted her. She whirled around, trying her best not to look like he caught her off guard. She broke off, squinting. Sauter was covered in sweat. He smelled like smoke. Is that soot? She pointed to his hands, his nose. Sauter brushed a thumb across the bridge of his nose, rubbing it against a finger. Glancing down at it, he flopped an arm out and let it slap against his side. Looks like it to me. Why are you covered in soot? Galen cautiously moved closer to inspect him, but Sauter turned his back to her. No, your roof isn't isn't the only one holding metas. Wait, no. I'll restart it. I found out your Earth isn't the only one holding metas. Saboteur grunted. Caitlin felt her heart drop for a moment, but she counted to 10 inwardly. This was not something she was fully prepared for. In fact, this was good. This was very good. If Saboteur was to put his speed to good use, containing metas was a perfect outlet. He had learned that with Barry, that this meant more than ever that every Earth could indeed use the Flash. What happened? She reached for a bucket of tap water. She began using it to clean the demonstration board, soaking a fresh sheet of paper towel in it. Savitar inhaled, sounding very impatient. Mick, Rory happened. The rag in her hand slipped in surprise. She squeezed it out and offered it to him. Heatwave? He raised his eyebrow. Is that what we used to call him? He stared at the paper towel she was holding for a moment, as if it might be soaked in vinegar rather than in water. Finally, he took it. I forgot how young and cute you were. He began clearing off his hands first, which Caitlin had found counterproductive, as it was meant to be, wouldn't be any clean in portions of the rag once he had started on his face. But she wasn't about to tell him that. Yeah, he let out a he let out a chuckle that spoke to his opinion of Heatwave. He was playing with one of the buildings downtown. He blew up a building? Where is he? Caitlin demanded. Did you double check the perimeters for stragglers? Why didn't you let me set up comms? Stop. Savitar spoke as the trail of her babbling loudly, drowning out her panic. When she was finally quiet, he paused, and washing and scuffed. What are you talking about? Caitlin blinked twice. Very quickly, her head reared. The civilians? Didn't you clear them out first? Before you went after Rory? She stood silent. He just stood there. He didn't look confused. He didn't ask for more of an explanation. He just stood there, with a hollow, sleepier version of Barry's poker face. Oh, God. Caitlin struggled to keep her voice steady. Please tell me you got everyone out safely. Savitar turned and began walking lazily up to the days of the workspace. On the right of the entrance, glass walls diverting her views of him, was examining the attack. He careless grit turned Caitlin's inner to Crystal. She was practically see her own breath as a cloud in front of her. Stomach turning over her, the icy cold fury that overwhelmed. You didn't help them? She didn't know why she was shocked, but she knew why she was fighting a lump in her throat. She was looking at someone who wore the body of a man who embodied her definition of safety, and all the people in the building had burned while he looked the other way. The lump was for them. You saw people suffering in danger and you ran away? Wait a minute. Aren't you always the one telling Barry not to rush in? Savitar turned around, head jerking back, mouth pulled down in a perfect picture of confusion. But she saw it was sincere as a styrofoam fruit. She couldn't speak. The smell of smoke he brought with him made her want to vomit. After a moment, she thought she was something like, they need your help, but roaring in her ears was too loud. But Caitlin, he said, cocking his head at her first, it wasn't safe. He spread his arms horizontally, shrugged. I had to go. Caitlin didn't remember taking off her necklace. She heard the clatter of dust metal to the ground. Feeling a full blizzard surge up in her arms. Before she could take the next breath, she was blasting Sub-Zero air in his direction. The force it slammed at the speedster into the computer resting at the table of the stations. She heard the glass fold itself in on itself. Wrecked him, picked him up. The world grew sharper. Suddenly she knew her pupils had gone dangerously white. He stood up. She had already reached him, bouncing the collar of his stewed black shirt in her hand and pressing him against the wall. An icy dagger formed in her right hand. What stopped her smile? What had stopped her was the smile. He was smiling. He was grinning Barry's big, infectious grin. It wasn't different, but this was different. It wasn't the scariest thing she had ever seen. The malence and the shape of it. Welcome back, Killer Frost, he breathed. Killer Frost. No! Kaylin's icicle fell from her hand, shattering the floor. Because of her voice ran up and down the room. She words out again, no! Eyes on his grin, Caitlin found herself regaining control. Alright guys, so I'm just gonna pause there for today's episode of Chasing Light. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, this is chapter 6, part 1. I hope you all enjoy. I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye!